my fellow readers, it is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fanfiction review, pair of fanfiction reviews. As always, links to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below any thoughts on the story, and finally, my opinion. My opinion is like indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the first of two stories I am doing a review of is Magic Tutor. It is by Rainbow Double Dash. It is another stepping stone into Lunaverse Season 2. I still have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. But I still have about 19 fics to go through. And that's the read. I still have a couple more that I already finished. But I'm just trying to catch myself up because it's been just, again, as I said in the previous video, been very busy week finishing up the season and stuff like that. So let's get into Magic Tutor. So what is the okay? I'm gonna be honest with Magic Tutor. I don't care about the story. I said that Sergeant Hooves is, if you look at it as like a standalone story, that is objectively the weakest story of season 2 so far. Because I haven't read, I have not read all of season 2 in so long, so I can't remember. Objectively, that is the weakest story. But it is essential with setting up key things. Here, all the story does is one specific thing, and that's it. And it's she's right here. she's right here, all the way to the right. Twilight Sparkle. So this is not a great fanfiction. I'm gonna lay that out right in the open. It's not I would honestly say subjectively, out of the ones I've read, this is the weakest story. Because despite the fact that it has a plot and it does have some character development, this is mostly a comedy fanfiction. The comedy didn't land. So, what's the plot? Well, the plot has Trixie had kind of been forced to take care of all these fools and teach a magic lesson. So how did that come about? Well, Raindrops, the element of honesty, basically kind of vented towards Trixie because she hasn't been over the fact that she hasn't been sleeping well. This is due to the fact her brother Snails, this lanky fellow right here with the green hair, hasn't been sleeping at all, and it's kind of been causing a lot of nervousness with the other members of the family, mainly because Snails is the only unicorn in a family of Pegasi, so they don't really know what's going on. Trixie has something of an inkling of an idea of what she's doing, what's going on, and she is for proof and confirmed. She basically confirms that Snails is doing something called underchanneling. Now, the Lunaverse as a whole kind of has this kind of weird methodology with when it comes to magic. You can, whenever you want, every pony theoretically has has unlimited magic. Kind of. See, how something like this works is they technically have a pool that they can kind of draw from at once. The more magic, kind of like a reserve sort of deal. So when they use their magic in the reserve, they run the risk of what's called overchanneling, which means they kind of draw more ambient magic than they could physically be able to output. Basically, input out versus output. This happens to Trixie a couple times in season 1. The hero open actually makes a very important point that the reason why they couldn't do half the stuff is because of the simple fact Trixie overchannels. She basically uses so much magic that her body physically cannot handle it anymore, and so she kind of just the magic kind of just rebounds back into her body, and she kind of passes out for a bit. Overchanneling is something that is is presented as something very, very dangerous in the context of the Looniverse, where basically if you overchannel, you actually have the chance to go into a permanent coma, which you can't wake up or even die because it has to because how it technically works based on the wording is that it technically goes like the magic goes back into your whatever back kind of has a whiplash effect, so it can theoretically kill you. However, what Snails is going through is underchannel, which means he's not using his magic enough. That's another thing with this world is they kind of present it as the fact that unlike Earth ponies and Pegasi, which kind of have more passive magic, which means they're constantly always leaking magic. Like Earth ponies always leaking magic just by walking. Like they can just walk down the street. Oh, they're using magic. That's fine. And Pegasi can just bleed out magic just by flying. Unicorns have to actively use magic so that way they don't overchannel and risk something because it constantly refills itself, but also risk underchanneling, which means your body's it's basically like a form of atrophy where you're not using something for so long it kind of just weakens, and that's what's happening with Snails. His body just he hasn't been using his magic enough, and therefore it's kind of like a magical atrophy. Like just use your magic more, and it'll help you sleep and all that because it's kind of just settling and just kind of keeping you up. So Trixie being the great and powerful Trixie Lulamoon. No, I don't. No. She hates that. She hates that. She hates being called Lulamoon. Decides, hey, okay, since it's such a simple fix, consider the fact we just have to teach Snail some new, at least like a new spell or two, just for the specific sake of burning, having him get used to using more magic to kind of just help him alleviate all these issues. I'm going to bring you along with me and Dinky because Trixie is actually teaching Dinky how to use magic. I'll let you join me and Dinky for a class. Snails, being not the brightest kid, I shit you not, he's kind of off, decides to get everyone else involved. I think this is supposed to be Sweetie Belle. I think all these other ponies involved, including Snail, Snips right here. By kind of just saying, oh, the great and powerful Trixie is going to teach me magic. It's like, I want her to teach you magic. Well, she can teach you magic too. And it kind of just inadvertently brings everyone along. And Trixie's like, yeah, I'll run with it. I'll run with it. You have you have Dinky, Snail, Snips. Pretty sure this is Sweetie Belle. This is Tootsie Flute. This is a Lula, and this is Firecracker? Fire something. She's like, all you need to know about this one specifically is she's a pyromaniac. And they're basically just annoying Trixie the hell out back. So she's quite literally just trying to figure out what to do. Because all the foals are just trying to get her to do it. Well, Tootsie Flute's only really there to just ask her question because unicorn, because her family is well, my mom and dad said unicorns, pure breed unicorns basically can learn magic faster and all that. And that kind of just rubs everyone the wrong way because again, it's like a slight tribalist bent to it that just pops in and out of the story whenever it's convenient. Trixie eventually kind of gets suckered in because the pyro decided to set off for fireworks because she's a pyromaniac. which leads Trixie to kind of just panicking. It's like, okay, I give up on this. There has to be someone else. Someone who's a unicorn, knows how to study, and knows possibly know how to teach. Coincidentally, around the same time, Twilight, the Lunaverse version of Twilight, actually is sentenced to house arrest in Ponyville. If you didn't know if you don't know the full context behind this, in my Crisis of Two Equestrians review, I said that there is a specific story that kind of finishes that specific plot line in that story. This is that story, where it's just basically Twilight refusing to run away and all this. Even at court, the judge thought that, well, because of all the evidence, it feels like you just made an honest mistake and you kind of and no one got hurt. So if you want, we can literally talk to a lawyer. We can do like a retrial and all that, and kind of just look at the evidence and kind of get a retrial so that you get like a lower crime. It's like, no, I'm guilty of all crimes. So they sentence. All right, we're gonna sentence Twilight to 10 years under house arrest at her home. If you don't know, in the context of the Lunaverse, her family is quite literally the most powerful family in the entire Equestria, and all of Equestria. They're only really second to Luna. So basically, in terms of like hierarchy, there's Luna, and then right below her is Twilight's family, mainly Twilight's father, who's literally, I think like at the time, like currently is like viceroy and like technically her major domo or something like that. So Twilight is literally just that high up hierarchically. So what happens is Luna comes in, offers a different solution. How about instead of 10 years at her home, because she didn't really slight anyone in Camelot, she slighted people in Ponyville. Have her do 5 years working as a librarian in Ponyville, and the payments from working as a librarian are meant to go towards paying off damages that she caused from Ponyville, which is like a whole can of worms because of the fact they literally in universe they class Rainbow Dash as like a natural disaster because she destroys so much of the town apparently. And so Twilight, and at the event of the story, Twilight just basically rolls in the town. She starts setting up. She's trying to get like all these books. Trixie, realizing that Twilight's there, I'm gonna help Twilight. They get into like a conversation because she's having trouble taking care of 7 ponies because she was expecting only snails who would be easy to learn because teach a spell, just be able to burn up magic so that way he doesn't underchannel anymore. Twilight and Trixie kind of get into an argument of like basically their whole idea like how they study like visual learning versus kinetic learning. And I think Trixie actually has a great analogy. I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to remember. I'm literally just trying to. All right, here. No. Oh, right here. Where Trixie's like kind of just completely confused about how Twilight's learning because she's basically Trixie was trying to teach him through her words, which is kinetic learning, but really only Dinky is more of a kinetic learner. Out of the seven foals here, Dinky's like the only one who is actually a kinetic learner, which means they kind of see by doing. And let's see, where is it? Yeah, right here. Spell books. That's like the steps to a dance. You lose the entire dance in the process, which is basically the idea of how kinetic learners learn. They have to see everything to kind of just visualize to have everything work out in their mind. It's a complicated issue. All the other ponies are visual learners. Dinky is a kinetic learner. That's all you really need to know. Trixie's front door window. This is like the story that reintroduces the running gag. Trixie's front window at her house just constantly getting broken in like window pane. Who's specifically like, can you stop repairing my window? Can you stop being you repairing my window? No! Because I got paid for my son's college, so I'm constantly stop repairing your window. Can you just get me better durable window? No! Because then I wouldn't be able to come back and give you more windows. It's not, the story just kind of ends with kind of everyone kind of getting solved, except for the fire starter who's like, yeah, I get to learn how to make sparks. And Snails gets this cure. Everyone just kind of learns some magic. And Tutor gets like her answer. Everything kind of ends. I know that's not the best way to talk about the ending, but the story doesn't really have a good ending. That being said, in terms of characters, there are a lot there are the foals. The season kind of introduces the foals as like kind of recurring characters that some episodes will kind of focus on. Basically, they're just a bunch of kids who just like who get into like basically picture all 7 of these as one gigantic group of cutie marks crusaders. Not in the fact that I'm looking for the cutie mark, because only really like Sweetie Belle and Dinky don't have cutie marks. But in the sense that they just cause trouble. They will cause so much trouble. And it's something that happened in the season 1 where they try to like hook up Cheerilee with Big Mac. Okay then. They kind of do it in this story as well, where they just kind of get involved and completely misunderstand the situation. In terms of these two like all these characters, Dinky kind of just acts jealous in the story. Despite the fact the story this kind of is focusing on Snails, kind of. I mean, he has something. Like but the problem is he's just kind of slow. He has a whole thing where he we get insight into like his mindset, like he's like very obsessed with bugs to the point where like when like early in this, like at the beginning of the story, when Trixie, I don't think is it here? Yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Okay. No, wait, is it? Is it? Oh, it is somewhere in there. Where Trixie, she finds out, and it's like, okay, I might know what's going on. She goes to Raindrops Hospital. Why am I having so much trouble saying Raindrops? And Trixie goes into his room. And she opens the door. There's Snails, and it's like, Snails, there's a tarantula on your head. Yes. And Snails like, yes, there is. And then she's like, she's not even focused on everything. She's just focused on the fact there's a gigantic tarantula on Snails' head. And she like repeats this. Like, Shutterbug, which is a snail and Raindrop's mother. Shutterbug, There's a tarantula on your son's head. It's like, yeah, oh yes, I know. I brought her home with me. Shoot, at this month's magazine. Yeah, she's a red-knee tarantula from Aqua. I'm calling her Fluffy. And she was in the studio, cats a lot because she was malting. I want to get photographs of that. The shoot ended earlier than expected. Always happens to me. Don't know why. Probably because the whole thing is she's like hyperactive. So why is that show? We had her until tomorrow anyway, so I thought I should introduce Michelle. Isn't she magnificent? When I dropped, there's a tarantula on your little brother's head. It's like, did you know you brought Fluffy home? Her tank has little logs and rock stuff. Anyone even checks out just as soon as she's hiding. I figured just a few photographs of Snail, like she's back tomorrow morning. Nobody's funny. Why is nobody concerned about the tarantula on Snail's head? I'm concerned, deeply concerned. Because I don't know, a fucking tarantula, a tarantula as big as a bull's head is just sitting there on his head, like just I don't know. That'd be deeply concerning and terrifying. I'm not even arachnophobic. It's like I'm pretty sure wouldn't that would kind of raise my nerves. But yeah, it's like Snails is like very slow, but he basically has a lot of heart. It's like I just really care. He understands Trixie's situation. Once he realized he kind of goofed up, it's like, oh, I did goof up. Because again, Trixie was only expecting these two, and that's fine. Fire starter right here. She's just a pyromaniac. Nothing about her. She's just kind of a douche. Alula, she is actually a winged unicorn. Her whole thing is like all the other folks like, oh, because you have a horn, you have wings, you're an alicorn, but I'm a unicorn. It's like you're so wise. We must bow and ask you for all the important questions. Like, I just want to make a sandcastle. Please tell us your wisdom. Baloney? We don't know what baloney is, but we must find out the truth. Sweetie Belle, Tootsie Flu is technically the weakest of these because, again, unlike everyone else who wanted to learn magic, she really just wanted to come along and ask a question about her family, which she does get answered to. They does set up a little rivalry between her and Sweetie Belle because they're both near the top of the class when it comes to like being able to use magic. Dinky's like actually catching up immensely because she's being trained by Trixie, and again, Dinky already is a kinetic learner, so she's learning. So she's picking it up faster than all the other ones who seem to be more Twilight's way to study. Here's the problem with these characters is the fact that this is largely a comedy story. I don't know why I clicked that off. This is largely a comedy story. It's not really a funny one. Now, I know comedy is subjective. I didn't find it funny. I'm sorry, I'm gonna lay it out. I didn't find it funny. It does have tries to make like a joke, like they do, like Twilight and Trixie do like a little magic duel at the beginning of this chapter. And it's like, oh, they just kind of talk about which magic's better, like how magic works, like, and they just start slinging, like, metaphorically seeing like low level spells at each other, like it's like, aha, just give me a mustache, yes. Throws mustache like, are you using that mustache? If you give it to me, I'm using it. I'm thinking. And it's kind of just a fun little thing that I just kind of like. It's really the only part that I like, just a little fight, because it's like the only thing that's like remotely funny. There's also the fact that the ending of the story just kind of just abruptly ends. Just like it's just like, oh, Trixie's back to teaching Dinky. All the ponies kind of like learn something, and Snails is sleeping. And like, oh, that's it. It gets kind of. It's just an ending that happens. The plot itself is kind of middling. This is like another. This the whole point of the plot is just the fact that it boils down to the fact that snails kind of just gooped up, and those tend to be hard sells for me. And grammar wise, I didn't see anything wrong with the grammar, at least from the top of my head. Pacing wise, it was a little too fast. I get this like this is more slice of life episodic sort of deal, so I wasn't expecting like something long, but 43,000 just seems like way too short with what it was trying to tell. I think maybe like another couple that like another 2-3,000 would be fine. I don't have anything more to say about it, so let's just move on to the next story, which is exam jitters. So this story focuses on Derpy. So what do I say about Derpy? Well, she's Derpy. Everyone kind of just loves her. Like, hey, love the Derpy, hug the Derpy, pet the Derpy. Derpy has basically has a lot of responsibilities. You know, she's a male, she's being a good mother, and she's acting as a knight of Equestria and working for Luna. However, lately she's actually been working very, very hard, like too hard, so she hasn't been able to hang out with Dinky. So when she finds out that Dinky's like, hey, I want to go play with friends. Like, okay, where are you gonna go? Dinky tells her. Dipsy's like, okay, you can go. Well, I'll pick you up later after I take like a nap or something. Dinky goes. Dipsy goes to sleep, oversleeps, doesn't wake up until she hears a noise, which is supposed to be thunder. She finds out, oh, oh, Dipsy is, uh, Derpy sees a storm coming. She realized she overslept, doesn't even know there was a storm, and in her panic, she actually completely forgets where Dinky is. At the same time, Dinky realizes, well, the storm's happening. I'm going to stay with mom. She waits a little bit, realizes Dipsy is probably not coming, and okay, so instead of going home, she wants Dipsy to. She doesn't really want to get that wet out of fear of getting sick. Understandable. So Dinky decides, hey, there's a mud puddle nearby. I'm gonna splash in the mud and actually deliberately make tracks to a close by place, which is actually Sweet Apple Acres. They were near Sweet Apple Acres. It's actually very clever using mud to deliberately make tracks, so that way you can follow them. Ditsy decides to. So what happens? Well, Dinky manages to find her way to Applejack's farm. However, Ditsy completely and justifiably freaks out because she found out that, well, Dinky's at this location. Because now she remembered, because she asked someone. She goes to the location. Dinky's not there, so she's completely panicking. She manages to find the footsteps. Footsteps lead to Applejack's home. She finds Dinky and takes her home. This completely breaks Dipsy because she blames herself for for basically what happened, and that's kind of like it's so weird. I'm going on a tangent, so just bear with me. It's so weird because you see a lot of mothers tend to well, not even mothers, parents in general tend to really deflect the blame whenever their kid does something wrong, like whenever they think they did something wrong for the kid. It's like, oh, I didn't take, oh, the kid did something bad. Oh, it's not my fault. You're the one we saw you give him a gun. It's like, no, not my fault. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. We just saw you give him a gun. It's like, oh, no, it ain't my fault. No. So it is refreshing to see Dick's like a story where like a mother realizes she goofed and wants to be better. The problem is she kind of goes overboard with the situation because after this happens, she gets a letter. She gets news from Charlie, who's kind of doing like a hush hush sneaky sort of deal, where this high society school in Manhattan, Sharpwinnie, is taking is hosting a exam for the top, and every single school is supposed to give their top 2 to 3 students access to the exam if they so wish. They do not have to take the exam if they don't want to. And Charlie tells Ditzy, it's like, hey, I nominated your daughter. Ditzy gets legitimately nervous because of what happened with the storm, that she immediately thinks that Dinky is just going to get hurt. Dinky is going to get injured because Dinky is still a very much a child. So despite the fact all these protections that apparently in-universe Sharpwinnie has, Ditzy can't help but be a mama bird, but also she's getting what's called empty nest syndrome, where the where parents usually mother, and this is something that and emptiness syndrome is something that's usually put with the mother, is afraid of letting their kid go. Usually when like a kid wants to be like independent. Whoever has empty nest syndrome basically tries to do whatever they can to try and keep them in the house because they still want to be that a provider role. So basically, Ditzy's just is nervous of losing Dinky because then not only would she be worried that Dinky might get injured, but she wouldn't have Dinky in the house to take care of. It's kind of something of a depressing situation because as the story goes along, Ditzy just starts losing more and more sleep because she keeps getting nightmares that Dinky is gonna get hurt, Dinky's gonna get injured, something bad is gonna happen to Dinky, and she starts kind of shunning everyone, and eventually she does tell Dinky about Sharpwinnie, but she also guilt trips Dinky into not going because if I go, then Mama won't be happy anymore. Which again, emptiness syndrome. Charlie and Trixie find out about this, give Ditzy a justifiable riot act because they basically tell her, paraphrasing, we understand that you don't want Dinky to go. The problem is, you're going way too far with this because Dinky you basically guilt tripped Dinky into not going. It's like, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. They managed to get through to Ditzy. Ditzy manages to talk to Dinky, kind of smooth things over, and they take her and Ditzy manages to take her to the exam where she studies, and she fails. So she doesn't even go to Sharpwinnie. She kind of just stays in Ponyville. And the story just kind of ends with them agreeing. It's like, we're going to make muffins. Says, yes, we are. For Applejack. For Applejack! Yay! And that's more or less the plot. It's not a deep, complicated plot. It's just a mother being overprotective and not realizing she's being overprotective. And then just finally overcoming it and eventually kind of realizing that she kind of goofed and reconciling with her kid. It's a simple story. I think the plot is well executed on the idea. It really shows like the mindset Dixie's going through, especially since again the accident was very clearly an accident, and she blames herself for oversleeping, for possibly getting Dinky injured, for possibly getting Dinky sick. Dinky doesn't get sick, and she takes it so hard on herself. She just kind of just takes the whole thing too far. I do like that. I think it's I think ultimately it's well crafted enough that it just makes the story entertaining. In terms of characters, you really only have Ditzy and Dinky. And even then, you technically only have Ditzy, and I really like Ditzy in this story. It's her overprotectiveness and like the idea of that empty nest syndrome kind of comes off as very realistic, and it's very well done. In terms of grammar errors, I think there was 1 or 2 grammar errors. Again, I read these 2 stories last week, so bear with me. Pacing wise, I do think this is paced really well. It's not too long to kind of drag it on, but it's not too short to kind of get the meaning what the story is trying to tell across. And I think they're both. It's a much better story than this, all things considered. So, would I recommend these stories? I would recommend Exam Jitters. I wouldn't recommend Magic Tutor. I do think it is the only reason you would want to read Magic Tutor is specifically to realize to finish the whole little plot line from Crisis to Equestria's with Twilight Sparkle, because Twilight Sparkle is gonna be a major reoccurring character throughout the rest of the season. Like Twilight is gonna get involved a lot because she's gonna be bouncing off Trixie a lot, and Trixie is technically the main character, so it plays into that. But other than just realizing, oh, this is where, so you don't get confused, like you read ahead and you go, oh, wait a minute, why is Twilight in Ponyville? Other than that, really not worth reading. Exam Jitters, I think it's good enough. I don't have a problem with this story. If there's anything I would change about this story, just make it a little bit longer. That's really it. Because I don't think they really they didn't do anything with like snips. It just kind of says it's just kind of there. Favorite part of, I don't really have a favorite part of this. I don't really have little Trixie and Twilight's little duel is probably my favorite parts of this. So yeah, that is Magic Tutor and Exam Jitters. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.